Hi, my name is Michael Cullen for Film Sound Tutorials, and today we're continuing with our video series of the one-man workflow for post-film sound. In the past videos, we've pulled in my picture lock, I pulled in my AAF, I've done some dialogue editing, and I just cut my background tracks. And so now for this video, we're going to talk about cutting sound effects. And so let me scroll up to my effects tracks. And what are hard effects or sound effects? So sound effects are audio clips that you use to heighten the action on the screen. And I guess the kind of rule for cutting sound effects is that anything that moves within the picture should have some kind of sound to it. And instead of always making sure that the sound is realistic, what we're trying to look for is the feeling of realism than actual realism. We're looking to heighten the emotion, the action on screen. And that's what makes movies feel so large and powerful. Also, in certain cases, you do need to put a sound effect for an action that happens off screen if it draws the attention of perhaps a character or helps to better tell the story. So when I got the AF from the editor, Shelby, she did put in some temp sound effects, which I did pull into my effects track. However, normally I don't use the effects that the editor puts into the AAF just because, one, they aren't as powerful as a sound effect that I might have in my library. I'm also concerned about the legality of using the clips when I get a sound effect from another editor, just because I'm not too sure where they got that sound effect and if they have the correct rights for that sound effect. And to show you how I cut sound effects, I wanted to work on the first scene of Murphy's Law, the film directed by Alex Fischera that we've been working on in the other videos. And let me just play it through for you so you get a sense of what we're looking at.
Okay, folks, I need a perimeter. Tompkins, where's the fire department?
7 minutes, they're in traffic.
Traffic? Goddamn fire department. Where's my negotiator?
Right here.
Get to work, Murphy.
Great, so that should be a good scene to start working with. So as you can see, we start off with a street scene where we have the sergeant getting out of the car. We have the jumper that she's looking at on the top of the building. She's talking to Tompkins. And then Murphy comes out of his Crown Victoria, throws his coffee, takes off his glasses, gets his bullhorn, all in slow motion, very epic, and then finally talks to the sergeant. And so this is a great scene to just show you what sound effects can do for your film. And as you can tell right now, it's a little anticlimactic. This is the beginning scene of the film. And without any sound, it's not as exciting as it could be. And so the first thing that I'm looking at that's moving is the opening of the door. So let's go and look into my sound effect library. Here's Metadigger, which is my sound effects search engine. So if you don't have your own library, in the description below, I'll put in some links of some Creative Commons websites that you can find some sound effects and some very reasonable, professionally recorded sound effects as well that you could buy for your film. So here I have my sound effect library open with Metadigger. And what we're going to be looking for is just the car door opening of, I think this is the Crown Victoria, the very traditional cop car. And so let's look up Crown Victoria door. And we need a door open. Looks like we got a Crown Victoria right here. So here's an open. Let's see if we have anything else. I don't really like the beep there. It's not as good as the other one. So let's pull in this one. So reveal and explore will find the sound effect for me. And it looks like this is a stereo sound effect. And so since the door doesn't take up most of the screen, I'm only going to use the mono version of this, and I'll delete the right side of this recorded clip. And so here it is. And you can see how it definitely helps draw more attention to the door opening. Also, as you can see from my PFX, I've already split out the sound of the door opening that we recorded on set And so what I'm going to do is make sure that the waveforms line up a little bit better. And I'm in grid mode right now, but to be able to slip in between the different frames, I'm going to go into slip mode up here and then kind of make sure that the peaks of these waveforms are together. And that just makes sure that it's a greater cohesion between the hard effect from the library and the actual sound effect of the door opening on set. And I'll just fade these in and out so we don't hear them come in. Great. And it's probably a little bit loud, but we'll work on that a little bit later during mixing. I'm assuming she's going to close the door.
Okay, folks.
It looks like this door is off screen, so I'm not going to draw attention to it since it is off screen. And I might even get rid of it if I find it too distracting later on.
Okay, folks.
But it does look like that this is her door closing
Okay,
here.
folks.
And so let's go back to MetaDigger. And it looks like we have a door close here. Ooh, I like that one. See, that one's a little bit dull. And so we'll pull in this guy. There it is. And throw it in. And then, like I said, because it's not as big visually in the screen, I'll just use the mono side of it. And go back into slip. Move it over a little bit so you can see that the peaks are lined up a little bit better. And back into grid mode. And hit G and D for fading.
Okay, folks.
Great.
Okay, folks.
And what we could do too is if you didn't feel like that sound effect was as large as you wanted it to be, not volume-wise, but in breadth and character, then what you can use is the same trick that we used in our background editing, is where we find another sound effect that has a slightly different pitch that will make the sound effect have even more character. So I wouldn't use the one from the same series, because you can see that all of these sound effects come from the same series. I'm going to try to find someone from a different series. I kind of like that one. And you can also, again, hear how it's a different pitch. So we'll pull this in, throw it underneath, go back into slip mode, and line up the peaks.
Okay, folks.
And now you can really hear how that sound effect is definitely present within the scene.
Okay, folks. I need a perimeter.
Awesome. Now you might be wondering, why am I not adding sound effects for the sergeant actually moving? Any sound effect that is derived from an actual human, that would be recorded during a Foley pass. And so since I did record a Foley pass for this, I'm not putting hard effects or library sound effects for her actual movement. So let's continue on.
I need a perimeter. Tompkins, where's the fire department?
7 minutes, they're in traffic.
Traffic?
And so I'm listening to this, and it still sounds a little dead. Because if we're at an emergency scene, you would assume that there's more than just the sergeant and Tompkins. So this could be a good time where you could use sound to make the scene and make the visuals feel larger than what you're actually seeing on screen. And so let's say perhaps if this is an emergency, there's probably going to be a helicopter that's going to come by to actually look at this potential jumper. So let's go back to MetaDigger and see if we can find some kind of helicopter sound that might help make the scene larger than it actually is. Let's see what we can find. Maybe approach. So that would be kind of cool if we have them approach. Maybe I might want it to be a slower approach because I need to cover more time in the actual film. So let's open this up. All right, here it is. And because this is a sound effect that's happening off screen, it might be better to use it as a stereo sound effect since I won't have to eventually pan it to a particular place within the actual frame. So I'm going to pull it in here.
Where's the fire department?
7 minutes, they're in traffic.
Traffic? Goddamn fire department. Where's my negotiator?
Right here.
Maybe even a little bit, it's a little bit closer when she's talking.
Thanks. I need a perimeter. Tompkins, where's the fire department?
Awesome. So you can see how now that's kind of building the scene around where all this dialogue is taking place. Also, if there's a helicopter, then we would assume there's probably even more emergency personnel. Let's see if we can find some more emergency. Emergency. Maybe radio. I do like that a lot. And so now you're giving this illusion that there's even more people in the scene than we're actually seeing. Also put that as a stereo sound effect. I'm gonna have to turn it down because it's definitely a little loud.
Okay, Feds. I need a perimeter. Tompkins, where's the fire department?
7 minutes, they're in traffic.
Traffic?
Awesome. So you can see how now sound is really starting to create the world around the main characters. Let's move on. And so now we have this moment where Murphy steps out of his car in slow motion. Pretty epic way to introduce a character. Because it is in slow motion, I'm going to take away our little ambient kind of sound effects here because it wouldn't make sense for them to play in real time during a slow motion shot. It's a little uncanny. I mean, I can show it to you. See, so it just sounds a little odd, so I'm going to fade them out before then. And let's see what we have. We have him also getting out of probably another Crown Victoria or similar car. So let's find a sound effect for the door closing. Crown. And I'm going to try to use a different door than we used before, just again to add some more variety. See, maybe if we add door close, that will help. So we didn't use this door close, so I'll put that in for him. There it is. Throw it in here. And then again, because I'm going to have to pan it later, I'm going to just use the mono version of it. And I've stayed in slip mode just because it's easier to do for these sound effects. And it looks like it happens right there. Cool. Let's see if we can find one more. Ooh, I kind of like that one too. So let's use that. And that's another sound effect that we didn't use before. And line up the peaks like that. Great. Then, of course, we're not doing his walking because that's going to be covered in Foley. But we should do something probably for the throwing of the coffee, which is pretty epic. And that's going to be maybe a water throw. Sounds more like a pool. I kind of like the second part of that. There's the splash. And in no reason do you have to use the entire clip as it is. So I'm just going to take probably the second part of this. And it looks like he throws it there-ish. I don't even like the beginning of that. And what you do want to do when you're organizing your sound effects is try to go from top to bottom in chronological order. So the door came first. These two are part of the door, so they're together. And then the liquid happens afterwards. And so you can see that's why I put it on track 3. And so you'll just go from top to bottom. Once you hit the bottom, you just go back up to the top. So it keeps it nice and organized. What I think we need some kind of throwing action. So maybe a throwing swish. That's kind of cool. There it is. And so since this comes before the water splash, I'll push that down. And let's put it here maybe as he begins to throw. And I feel like that swoosh could even be larger. Maybe let's look for a whoosh, just a synonym of swish. That's funny. That sounds like almost the water moving anyway. We'll add that in. And it's funny how many times I find sound effects that I wasn't originally looking for that then work really well in a certain spot. And so since I'm going to put 2 of them, I'm going to put this on top now. So we can see that this one happens first. And I'll add something more to that swish like I was originally going to do. And I know that to do swishes, sometimes people record with bamboo. So I'll go and find some bamboo and see if there's any swishes in here. Oh no, that's definitely too fast. So, okay, we'll go something like this. Reveal and explore. There it is. And so now you see with the different pitches, it makes the throw a little more forceful. And I'm really liking that. Now, since this is a slow motion part, we should put in some kind of sound effect that helps support the visuals that the shot has been slowed down. And so there are conventions, of course, with any kind of sound design for different visual effects. And one of the conventions for a slowed down clip is having this low underwater sound. In the past, I've found that if we find a sound effect of a submarine, maybe underwater, something like that goes with the convention. And pull it in. And I'm going to put it on this third track because it's a different sound or emotion than from this previous 2 tracks that we were using. Awesome. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And then it'll go back to normal when we get back to present day, I think when the shot's done. All right. Something like that. Also, what might be kind of fun, since it is so epic, maybe let's add some sound effects of fireworks going off, something that would be big and bold. And so let's see if we can find some fireworks. All sound effects don't have to be literally something that you see on screen. Almost the best sound effects are something that's creating a mood for a particular visual. That might be kind of fun. And so we'll throw that down here as well. Cut that off.
Right here.
And maybe it can make that kind of swooshing sound at the end when we come back to real life. Then we'd bring back these guys, kind of like we did in the background.
Work, Murphy. We need 7 minutes.
And there you go. So you can see how the sound effects can not only help support what you see visually, but you can also use sound effects to help convey a certain mood about a shot or expand what we actually do see visually into something that we want to help support narratively off screen. So after quite a bit of work, this is what your sound effects track should look like. And so you can see how I have all my mono tracks up here on the top. I have my stereo tracks down here on the bottom. And then, of course, everything is ordered chronologically, except for when the sound effect repeats itself, then it should be on the same track throughout the entire session. So this concludes this tutorial on editing sound effects, and in the next video, we're going to cue and edit Foley. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.